a nation stunned by a horrific act on live television. A disgruntled former employee at a Virginia TV station shot and killed a reporter and cameraman.
24-year-old reporter Allison Parker and 27-year-old photographer Adam Ward were killed during a live report in Roanoke, Virginia this morning. A vigil continues to grow there tonight outside the TV station where the two worked. Friends and family of the victims gathered there earlier tonight.
The two were doing a report on local tourism when suddenly the suspected gunman, Vester Flanagan, opened fire. A Chamber of Commerce member was also injured. Investigators say Flanagan is a former station employee who went by the name Bryce Williams.
Co-workers say Ward was about to start a new life with his fiancée, and Parker was dating a news anchor at the TV station.
When we had our 6-month anniversary, she made a scrapbook for me and put in all of the pictures that we spent together for the first 6 months. Even pictures I didn't want to be in there. She put them in there. We were a perfect couple.
Investigators say Flanagan tweeted video of the shooting that he took and then tweeted while being chased by police. He then shot himself and later died from his injuries.
ABC News received a 23-page document this morning allegedly from the shooter. In it, Vester Flanagan wrote he was motivated to kill by the Charleston church shootings in June. Flanagan also says he bought a gun 2 days after that shooting, and the incident was the tipping point. He also accused employees at the Virginia TV station of making racist comments towards him. The station's general manager could not confirm those accusations.
Allison was the nicest, kindest person, and not a person given to any kind of picking of a fight or any kind of racial or other harassment. That's just not, it's not believable. And he did work with Adam because Adam was a news photographer when this fellow was a reporter, and there may have been some back and forth, but frankly he had back and forth with a lot of people in the newsroom.
Flanagan also referenced the Virginia Tech and Columbine shootings.
The former FBI profiler in Colorado Springs says those two shootings had a lot in common with today's attack. Also tonight, a former Southern Colorado news director knew the Virginia shooter very well. KRDO News Channel 13's Greg Miller talked to both of them tonight. Greg?
You know, James, since we've learned more about Flanagan's past, some noticed the warning signs, including the man who hired and fired Flanagan, who used to work here in the 90s.
We ended up terminating him in February of 2013 for performance issues.
Chilling accounts from Vester Flanagan's former boss, Dan Dennison, just hours after the former reporter opened fire and killed reporter Allison Parker and photojournalist Adam Ward.
He had leveled a rather long series of complaints against coworkers nearly from the beginning of his employment at the TV station. All of his allegations were deemed to be unfounded.
Years before he worked at WDBJ, Dan Dennison worked here as the news director at KRDO. He calls the day he had to fire the shooter a unique and rough termination.
It was the only time, I will tell you, that it was recommended that I have a police escort out of the building in a termination procedure, and did have it. He was not going to leave willingly or under his own free will, so it was a tough situation.
A manifesto from the shooter showed praise for the Virginia Tech shootings and the Columbine massacre.
Almost invariably, they tell us that they're going to do something. They tell us what they're going to do in advance. But despite all the warning signs, we ignore all of those warning signs.
Former FBI profiler Pete Klismet says mass shootings have become more common.
The key is that you're dealing with a certain unique type of an individual. They also want to find ways to have some power or authority over people that they have perceived to have hurt them.
A fact difficult to bear as friends and family of the two victims grieve now. Now, Klisman also said while the manifesto claimed this was a case of workplace violence, he and other profilers would consider it a rampage. In studio, Greg Miller, KRDO News Channel 13.
Thanks, Greg, and you can find much more in-depth